Okay, you've got your gel starter kit. Let me show you how to use it. Okay, let's organize this sweet little mess. Okay, we've got our files. 3 files there. Got our practice fingers. We've got our brush and we've got forms and our practice fingers. And I'm going to put the reveal and the bridge aside. Okay, let's learn how to do gel nails. Let's pop a practice finger in here. And then just bring your finger down a little bit. We're going to start by buffing and preparing the nail. Now, the reason why I supply the kit like this is because I really do encourage that you work on plastic finger or a piece of paper or a piece of plastic. Like, don't work on yourself or anybody else, because we want to be able to learn before we take it to a person. Okay, even if it's yourself, right? There's a lot of things that can go crazy, and you want to make sure that you do it on this so you can literally just remove this and start again rather than having to file it all off if you put it on a person. So we want to prep that natural nail. See this little lip here? That is simulating your cuticle. So when you file, just go up to it. I'm going to take the medium file and I'm simulating here, buffing the natural nail just ever so gently. You want to get rid of any oils and shiny areas to help the product has its best chance to stick. Now this video is really focusing on how to build gel nails. It's not going to focus on the prep so much for natural nails. Those are other videos. We really kind of want to get down to how to work with the gel to build it into a beautiful nail. Now you don't have to prep this finger like this because it is a fake finger. But I do find the gel, and even acrylic if you're working with in hybrid gel, it kind of slides around. So it is good to give it a bit of a buff because it will simulate working like a real finger. Okay, and you can get rid of the dust with a duster that you might have, and or you can even, oh, and it has it here in the kit. I do supply a little bag full. It's a pretty big bag of, a little big bag of lint-free cotton pads. And that's really important when you're working with gel. Acrylic's very different. You can have more of a, lint, you might say. It doesn't bother acrylic as much. But gel is very picky about all the hair in the air. So you want to have a nice gel-free, and you've got yourself a little bottle of alcohol. And just a little dab will do you. And you can just wipe the dust away if you want. Now, if you are doing this on natural nails, and this is just learning, we want to make sure that dries when it comes to natural nails before you apply the product. And you can see that coming back chalky again. Okay, now we're going to do this for practice. Of course, it doesn't make much of a difference for a fake finger like this, but for practice, this is how we learn. We're going to grab our bridge. Now, bridge, it's a primer, and it is going to bond your product to your nail, or your nail to the product. We do want to have this piece in here. Now, how you apply this when you're doing it for natural nails, it's really important. We want to make sure we get every little bit. Don't oversaturate with any type of base or primer or bonder. And you want to kind of do it in circular motions. We don't want to overuse this product. Circular motions. And make sure you get everywhere. Because when you have a little tiny lift, the first question might be, did I actually have the bridge in there? Because if the bridge ain't in there, the product, your gel, may not stick. Okay, so with bridge though, we do want to cure it for 60 seconds. So we want to stick our finger in the LED UV lamp so that can do a full cure. In the meantime, let's get our forms ready. So I've got my button forms here. They're a great form. They have a great adhesive, very high quality, and a thicker paper. And the reason why that's important, especially if you're working with hybrid gel, this will be for hybrid gel, acrylics, and gel. When you're pressing down for the hybrid gel, this will hold up and it will resist and it won't go out of shape. It's really important for a form. You want it to do its job. So I'm going to peel this off. I still got a few seconds to go, and I'm going to prepare my form. Just going to pinch that end. Get it all ready to go. Just going to place him right there. A few seconds left. Here we go. Okay, now it's all ready for product to adhere to it. Now I'm going to put this form on here. Now when you're learning, you don't have to use this form right away. If you want, you can just work within this area here. But if you do use a form, you can do a bit of an extension too, just for the practice sake. Okay, so we're just going to slip this form on here, right under there. It goes a long way, doesn't it? You want to press it down and pinch that form together so it actually stays on that finger as best it can. Plastic fingers in general have a tough time trying to stick sometimes because of the material that's used to make the finger. But if you stick the form together, it'll hold on there. Okay, so now we want to open our glass gel. And I called it glass gel because it's super clear. I'm so happy with it. So in the 80s is when I started doing nails. Yes, I'm dating myself, but that comes with a lot of experience. So when I started, it was acrylic only. That's all they had. And then gel started to come around the 90s. And back then it was, we never liked it. We were a bit snobby acrylic artists. I mean, it was the only product at the time. And gel was kind of yellow, bubbly, cracky, so sticky. So we hated it. But then in 2000, they started to perfect it. And today, I love it. Now, it's taken me a long time to love it because it's a completely different medium than the acrylic is what I'm used to. But now I know how to do gel now because I've been doing it for, 20 years. So this is the beauty for gel. Think about your acrylic. If you know anything about acrylic, get it out of your head. If you know anything about hypergel, get it out of your head. This is a very different. So you got to clear your mind and just think all new and be ready to make those mistakes because a mistake is how I got here. Every nail technician you've ever watched has made mistakes. I can guarantee you they've made all the mistakes that I've made too. That's a badge of honor. I'm going to wear that proudly. Okay. Now with gel, you don't need to mix or stir it up or anything like that. You want to keep it happy the way it is, right? Look at that. Look how flawless it is in there. It's just bubbleless and hairless and it's all brand new. I love it. So I'm just going to get a tiny little bit. Don't stir it. Don't do anything like that. I want to basically right now kind of condition my brush. See how I left it sort of halfway? You can use that to your advantage. So right now I'm going to get cotton pad. Now you don't have to do this, but it's just getting the conditioning in your brush, sort of getting the brush saturated with the product that you're trying to use. They call that conditioning the brush. So I'm going to just get some gel in there. You could also do this against a form if you'd rather. Okay, so you're just kind of conditioning the brush. Now we do want to make sure there's some gel on there because we're going to use this as a base too. We're going to put on a nice thin layer of gel on our nail. I'm going to get a little bit more. And the reason why we want to do this is because gel loves itself. When gel finds more gel, it gravitates to it. So when you put this on here, it's easier to get the gel to go in that spot because it'll find a relative of gel and go, and it'll suck to it, and it'll grab onto it and it'll hold it. So just put a nice thin layer of wherever you want it to be. And the next blob will be a building blob and it'll find itself. And like I say, gel loves gel. Okay, you don't have to cure that. So we're going to stay right there. And now we're going to glab another bead. Now this bead, I'm going to say when you're first learning, be generous, but don't do a huge one because we're going to build the nail in stages. We always need to do that when you're learning. Please don't try to do a one bead with any product you're using. You'll work up to that one day, but it's not a necessary goal. It's just not. I call them the one bead band. It's great if you do it, but don't start there. It'll really mess up your building game. Okay, so this little bead I got, see this nice little bead? And I am going to put it on the nail. Notice how I didn't go right up to the cuticle? I just went right here. And you sort of like release it. You can twirl on it. And then you can sort of try not to lose contact too much. Like don't do it over like you do acrylic. Like I say, get the acrylic stuff out of your mind. You want to push. See how I'm pushing? And see how it finds itself? Look at that. Don't look for any shape. You just want to, don't lose contact. And you're just sort of going back and forth. There's lots of different ways. You can go in circular motions. You can go back and forth like a sway, like a pendulum, right? But whatever you do, don't pat and don't scoop up and over. That's just going to increase bubbles, and we don't want that in our gel world. We just don't want that. Okay, we're just going back and forth. Now it's kind of nice we have this finger to show us where to go, but once we get on the free edge, we're kind of on our own, because most people, when you do nails, they do not have long nails like this, right? This is kind of misleading. So we've kind of done our first layer. Look at that. You just make sure that it's not running on the side. This gel is a higher viscosity, so it's a bit thicker, so it's not going to run everywhere, so it's easier to manage when you're building. I like that. Okay. So I'm going to put my gel down, my little gel brush. I'm going to pick up this guy, and I'm going to stick it in my light, and I'm going to give it a full cure. Okay. And I'm going to put your little finger back on there. Now let's extend this a little bit. Okay, let's say we're going to extend it. Let's get a little bit of bead on here. And we're just working on the extended bead, like the free edge bead. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it off, try not to lose contact, and then roll it around. And then, now, of course, we don't have any product on the end. We're just adding it, and it's going to be sitting on the form, right? So you do the same kind of motion. You can even roll it off on the form. You have to decide how long you want it to be. I don't really want it to be that long. I'm going to take some of this excess here. Make sure I've got enough on the sides. Remember, wherever you go, it will go. Okay, I'm going to end it right there. I just want to make sure it is as wide as that tip. I'm going to take a little look-see. Yep. Okay, I'm going to nuke that. Okay, so what I like to do at this point is take the form off. And the reason being is because you don't need it, first of all. Once you got that layer down, then you don't need it. And it even helps the cure. The best way to take these off is to sort of snap it. Take the sides off and then snap it underneath, bend it, and take it out like that. Okay, now I'll put that little guy back in there. Okay, we're going to do one more bead, and that's the apex bead. So this can be, well, this finger is kind of big. I mean, look at the size of my finger in comparison, right? That's compared to an index finger. I mean, it's huge. Even if you take my thumb, it's about the same width of my thumb. So we're going to add a big apex bead. And again, you're learning, so it doesn't matter if you take 10 beads to make up this apex, or you get one giant one and it's too much to handle. That's totally okay. That's what we do when we're learning. Now the apex bead we're going to put right here. Now I do know that we do need it from this free edge onward. We do need a lot. So I'm going to put this guy right here. And I really am doing good with the no bubbles. So I want to keep that going. Now I'm going to try to bring it down in here. Bring it down. to the free edge, and I'm going to get another big one. Apparently that wasn't big enough. See how I use that silver edge to sort of trim off those extra little bits? It's like working with syrup or honey. I'm going to attach it to that bead that I left off there, and I'm starting to fill in that free edge. Again, I don't really want to go too long with this, but I want to make sure that I've got the product for as long as I do want to go. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks bumpy lumpy. I'm going to go up here and see if I can smooth it. Now you can do this all with the hand file. You don't need to do this with product or the brush at this point. This is just because I can, but you don't have to. So I'm kind of going up here and swirling it a little bit and seeing if I can smooth it up and make it a little bit more even. Yeah, that actually did work. It's still lumpy and bumpy, but it worked. So I'm going to let it self-level. Gel self-levels. That's what it loves to do. But one thing about gel, if you let it self-level too much, it'll actually level out like a cake in a pan. It'll go flat. But no nails are flat. Even if you have flat nails, you want to put that apex in there. So we want to get some height into it. So we don't want it to self-level. So with this particular thing, gel, that's the thing, we're going to take this now. This is a great tip. We're going to turn it upside down. If you make the apex point parallel to the table, then you will get it to come to a center and create an apex. And all you did was hang it upside down. You know, all this is new, possibly, these techniques for you. So give yourself some time to learn, because you might look at it and go, oh, well, that just created a big bump. Yeah. But it'll take a while to get it. Sometimes you can cheat it and sort of encourage it a little bit, and you just take your brush. I know this is the front camera, so it's a long ways away, but you just take your brush and just move that clump and encourage it where you'd like it to go. That looks great. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can show you without it moving too much. So when I hold it on its side. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to now nuke it. Okay, so now I want to file it, but I want to do some cleanup things first. And don't learn the hard way like I did. So you want to close that gel, because remember, you don't want to get anything in there. You want it to be totally free of any cat hair in my house in particular. So close that up and put it aside. With the gel brush, you can actually leave the gel in there, but only if you have a cap for it. Because if you leave it in the sunlight or any type of UV light at all, it will cure it in there and ruin your brush. So sometimes you can just take the little bit of the excess off. You don't even have to do that if you don't want to, but I do. And then I will put a cap on it. And that'll keep your brush really happy till the next time you use it. Okay, so we want to file this, but before we do, it has a dispersion layer like all gel does and hybrid gel. We want to be able to remove that with just a quick swipe. It's a sticky layer. You can't file a, well, you can file a sticky layer, but it gets sticky. So I just want to remove that dispersion layer. So I'm going to grab my medium file and I'm going to file it. Gel is a softer product. It's easier to file, just like hybrid gel. So, and look at it, it's a mess, right? Of course it is. That's where gel is. It just does it on the end. Don't be alarmed. That's the way it's going to look. So I always determine my length. So look how easy that files right off. So I'm just going to file it. I'm going to hold it and I'm going to file it down to the length that I want. Okay, so I got off the little crusty ends. I'm going to take it off the stand, okay? I'm going to hold it like a finger. Now you want to turn it sideways. When you're doing these fingers, you're going to have this. But even when you're doing nails, you may have this. It may not be quite as exaggerated as that. But sometimes I'll hold it because these fingers, they can pop off a little bit. And you want to file that kind of droopy side edge. And I'm filing it to be parallel to the fake tip. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it to be the same on this side. We're just establishing our shape still. Okay, that looks pretty good. We're going to go back to here again. And we're going to take up our end a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to talk about the top. Now let's turn it sideways here. We're going to focus on this kind of little lumpy and bumpy, and it's a bit lumpy in here. and over here and near the cuticle. So we're going to go over top of the whole thing. So when you're filing, you want to go, you don't attack one little spot. I don't find that's very effective unless it's a real high spot and it's a real concentrated spot. You can do that for a bit. But general rule, the best way to file a nail to make it smooth is to go across the whole entire nail. What you're doing is you're getting all the high points and you're matching it to all the low points. As long as the low points are high enough to make that nail, the high points, you bring it down, is going to match and make a perfectly smooth nail. So go over top of the whole thing. I'm doing this with my hand file. And gel is excellent to file with a hand file. And I'm going over top of the whole nail. See that? You can see all the marks that I'm hitting. Here's a case in point. Look at this. If I remove all the dust, see this little shiny spot? The file is not hitting that because on this side it's high, this side it's high. So it's not hitting it. Watch when it starts to level out and your high points meet the low points, that will disappear and you'll have a smooth, frosted, filed finish. Here we go. Still not complete. Ooh. We've just hit that. Ooh, one little point is still not even. But I'm going to go over it a little bit more. A little bit more. He's still there. Look at that. It's a real little low point. This is perfect. I couldn't have planned this. Okay, I'm going to keep going. How much does it take? Still there. Still there. It's almost gone. Can you see that? Look at that. That means all the area around it is too high and it's not matching that point yet. Okay, I'm going to go over top of the whole nail too, because I want all of the nail to look evenly buffed. Okay, it's still there. Everybody else is catching up. This side is looking good. Cuticle's looking good. The sides are looking good. See, that free edge is looking good. Now, you wouldn't go over your hand in a real person's. Do you know why? Because you're adding oils from your hand to the nail. We don't really want to do that. Okay, that little point is gone. See how he's gone? That's good. Okay, so now I'm going to go over top of the whole thing. I'm targeting the cuticle area now to make it nice and smooth. And I'm going to target the sides, making it nice and straight. Now you see this is good that it happened. Remember the fails I talked about? That's super, super important. And even I'm learning every nail I make, no matter how long I've been doing nails, you always learn a little something. So here, see this little white dot? Can you see that, Cameraman? Mm-hmm. That little white dot there?
Yeah, I can.
That is, well, now it's a half a bubble. So it's enough of a bubble that all the white dust has landed in that little hole and created a little white dot. Unless I had some whiteness that got inside. But I frankly did not see that. I mean, I could lie to you, so I didn't admit that I made a bubble. But I made a bubble. It's a fact of gel life. So there it is. But you have to keep filing to get it out if you want to get rid of it. I mean, let's take a little alcohol. See, alcohol can get rid of the look of it. And I could have just lied and kept going. But it pretty much does get rid of it. Because what it does is the alcohol is saturating the dry dust and getting rid of it and creating that gone look. So I'm going to keep going because I now know I got a bubble in there. But this is thick enough on the end. I'm going to see if I can get Cameraman to focus on that. Okay, it's really hard to see because it's a clear item, so it's hard to focus on something so clear. But if I hold my finger, can you see? If I put my finger there, can you see the thickness of that? I mean, when you're learning, at least it's even. When you're learning, don't be too hard on yourself as far as that thick end goes. So you can get picky if you want to, just depending on whatever level that you're at. But I'm going to get a little picky and I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit thinner. And it gives me the excuse also to file it down a little bit more off the free edge and maybe get rid of the bubble. It's a much, much smaller bubble. See that? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Super small. So that's small. So I think what's happening is I got the wide end of the bubble we were looking at, and now as you carve through the bubble, it's getting smaller and smaller, smaller. So it's a less of a bubble. And cross my fingers that I don't have any more that pop up. Okay, we got rid of it. Okay, so I'm going to fine tune those sides. Okay, so I have got the shape and I've sculpted it now, and that's what I was doing with my medium file. Now with the fine file, we want to be able to smooth those edges up. And that's just to reiterate the same shape that you just made. We're just making it nice and smooth. Okay, that's nice. And then with my sanding sponge, I'm gonna go over top of the whole thing. So what a sanding sponge does is it smooths it and roughs it at the same time. That sounds crazy, right? But what that means is once you've sculpted it and you've got it what you want, you've got the shape, you solidified the shape. This won't change the shape. This simply smooths it and roughs it at the same time. Smoothing it as in finalizing any little type of bumps and sort of going over top of the whole nail. And smoothing it as in making it a really certain grit for a gel polish to adhere. So it's a really crucial kind of file. It sort of goes over the whole thing and making it smooth, but rough. Smooth as in the smooth shape, but rough enough for the gel polish to grab onto. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over top of the whole thing, like I said, and make it that smooth rough. Very contradictory, but it works so good. Okay, be happy with that. Okay, so now I'm going to get some alcohol and get rid of all of the dust. And underneath too, right? The sides and okay, I'm going to put it back in the stand because we want to put a top coat on it now. We need steady. Okay, you did it. You made a nail and now you've sculpted it and shaped it and finished it. Now we're ready to top coat it. Okay, now this is your top coat. This is going to reveal the beauty. So when you put a top coat on, you want to make sure if you do use the alcohol to clean, or you can just use a duster, or you can use the alcohol, but let the alcohol dry before you put a top coat on. Okay, we got rid of that bubble. That's good. Now we want to put our top coat on. When you put a top coat on, don't drop it near the cuticle. Drop it sort of midway and then push toward the cuticle. That way it'll be a thinner application. Pull back on one side, pull back down the other, and then pull back in the center. Okay? And then you can let it just settle for just a couple seconds. Again, gel self-levels. So give it a second to just sort of self-level it a little tiny bit. And then when you're happy that you got it everywhere, yep, we're going to send it into the Nuke. Okay, and now we have our finished look. Now keep in mind, you are learning. So when you pull it out of there and everything that you see wrong, you must think of it this way. The fact that you can see that it's wrong means that you've learned what better you want to do. And every time you do it, you're just going to get better at it. So don't be hard on yourself. Have fun making gel nails. If you want to check out my acrylic starter kit, check this video out.